Over.
Oh, okay.
Unhide yourselves. Show yourselves.
Oh my gosh, too embarrassing.
Welcome to Joining Forces. I was announcing that everybody should mute their microphone if you're not one of our guests, and I had my microphone muted, so nobody could hear me say that. So welcome to Joining Forces for Treasure Valley Veterans. I'm glad that we can all gather today. Last month was the first time in 11 years that Joining Forces did not meet. So these are definitely unprecedented times, but I'm glad that we can gather today. And I know that there are some people that have not attended a Joining Forces meeting before that are able to attend today. So I'm excited about that. So a few rules. If you're not part of our guest lineup, then please mute your microphone so we don't get any background noise from your home or office. And I see that a lot of you have your video muted, and so you may be sitting at home in your pajamas or whatever, but we do see some faces out there, and I appreciate seeing those. So we will be recording this so that we can post it and it can be played back later, and you can share it with other groups and things. So to begin with, I would like to just give a shout out to law enforcement. This is Police Week across the nation, and a little bit different. They always have a big ceremony in Washington, D.C. We always have a very nice ceremony here in Idaho, and those are not taking place because of the circumstances, but law enforcement's a big part of Joining Forces, and so I want to just give a shout out to our law enforcement officers out there, and thank you for your service. Our special guest today is going to be Marv Hagedorn, who's the Chief Administrator for the Idaho Division of Services and my boss. So Marv, are you out there?
Yeah, I'm here.
We can't, there we go. There you are.
Good, okay.
Okay, well, welcome.
Good morning.
This is about how I see Marv every day. Most of us are back into the central support office, but we're all isolated into our own areas. So if I see Marv, it's usually in a little screen like this anyway. So good morning, boss.
Thanks. Yeah, this is my actual size. So.
Okay. Well, we'll just jump right in here. We're going to talk about the what's going on with the Division of Veteran Services and our different divisions. And I think one of the big things in the news right now across the country is the state veterans' homes. And especially back east, there are some homes that have lost unprecedented numbers of veterans to the COVID virus. There's a home in New York that lost upwards of 100 veterans in their home. Another one in Pennsylvania, 65. We have been very lucky here in Idaho. And Marv, why don't you tell us what's going on with our veterans and the precautions that we've taken?
You know, we were really fortunate. When we saw this coming, our folks, our nurses, and everyone in the homes recognized this as not necessarily a pandemic, but as another type of flu. So we immediately went into a response mode like we were having a big flu attack in the homes. And so we tripled our cleaning of all of our touch points immediately. And then we started looking into some of us. I worked in a clean room. One of our administrators, he was in the Army, and you know, any of us who've served are familiar with NBC and all of the things that go along with NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical, and so we started in Lewiston first. We started with just buying everybody scrubs, and because what was happening, is what we suspected, is most of our staff were coughing into their sleeves, as we're all taught to do. But then we walk right into the homes with that same sleeve and the same germs and viruses on that sleeve. And so we decided that not only did we need to triple our cleaning of our touch points, but we also needed to have our folks clean or change into scrubs, out of their civilian clothes into their scrubs when they went into the homes. And I think that's made a huge difference. We've subsequently bought scrubs for all of the staff in both the Boise home and the Pocatello home. And we've also worked with a gal who's a scientist, used to work for the CDC, and no one was sure the first part of March when we started all this, if this was airborne or not. And so we thought, if it is, we've got to take action now to scrub our air. And so we started working with the Department of Public Works and tightening up all of our air handler systems so they weren't as leaky as they were. And we also installed ionization devices in the outputs of all of our air handlers in each room and all the common areas. The ionization of that air, as it goes through that device and goes into the room, scrubs it and kills all the viruses, all the germs that go through that. We also just finished adjusting all of or balancing the HVAC systems, so we have like negative pressure or a lower pressure in each resident's room and a higher pressure in the common areas and the hallways. And so is what happens.
Is yours streaming quickly? No.
I think so. Yeah. Somebody needs to put their phone on mute or their stuff on mute here. Okay. All phones on stun. Thank you. So anyway, we're scrubbing the common area air, and then the lower pressure in the rooms is forcing the air underneath the doorways and then up into the ceilings where the intakes are for the air handler system. So it pulls any viruses that could be in the room from the resident out with clean air. So we've been fortunate. We started testing all the residents. We had not had that capability until last week. And last Friday, we tested all the residents in the Boise home. And on Monday, we got all the results back that all the residents in that home are COVID-free. We did all the staff on Monday, and we tested all of them, and we should get those results back. That's 125 in Boise. We should get those results back today. We are in the process of testing all the residents in both Lewiston and Pocatello, as well as the staff. And that way we can set a baseline up whether or not we have COVID in our homes. I knock on wood, we don't, because we've taken a lot of action, and the staff has just gone above and beyond to take care of the residents. We've got right now roughly 120 residents in our homes, in all three homes, and they're doing pretty well. I mean, for being cooped up, not being able to get out and go on a bus ride or a fishing trip, or all the things that we normally take them on, they're doing okay. We have people come to visit virtually through our iPads, or they'll come to the windows and sit outside the windows and talk through the windows to their loved ones. So it's heartbreaking to watch families separated like that, but we got to keep these folks alive and away from this virus until we can get some vaccines. So that's kind of what's going on in the homes. We've done pretty well, I think. Sadly, there was a home in New Jersey lost 82 people in a week. That's devastating. I can't imagine that happening. We had a home in Lewiston not a veterans home, but we had a home in Lewiston that lost 17 people in a week. And so once the virus gets into a home, it's devastating, and there's not much you can do. So we're doing everything we can to keep it out.
Well, and just being on the inside, I've been very impressed when this did come out the end of February, first part of March. I personally, I was like, wow, this is a little bit overkill, but we've been ahead of this the whole time. And, you know, shout out to our staff and Marv for his leadership on that. Another complaint that I've seen in some of the news reports with the state veterans homes is the communications with the families. What have we done to let our families of our veterans know what's going on?
That's a good question. You know, one of the things we decided we were going to do right up front was be as transparent as we could be with what was going on and what actions we were taking. So we, about once a week, every week and a half, we send a letter out to all the families of the residents. We also call the families. We send emails. We post what we're doing on social media. I just think it's important that not just the families know what actions we're doing, but the community knows what actions we're doing. We put a call out for help for masks and for mask holders that you put on the back of your head. And man, it was like three days, and the community responded, and we had all the mask holders we needed. And a bunch of folks stepped up and gave us some N95 masks. And so our community is reacting in such a great way and is so helpful. I'm trying to be very careful in the asks that we send out because everyone is just bending over backwards, and everybody kind of needs to take care of themselves too. So, but that transparency is the key word in my watch.
Well, and I will mention, like Marv said, everybody was tested this week. If you haven't had the official COVID test, I will tell you, it does tickle your toes. It's amazing how that thing going up your nose tickles your toes. So we'll get those results back. So we're very excited that the VA is working with us on those tests so that we know where everybody's at. So another subject along the lines of the veterans homes, in the legislature this year, we asked for a replacement for the Boise home. And what's the situation on that? Well,
we've got our plans set up. We have architectural drawings set up for the Boise home. That home is 66 years old and is a very old style architecture. The VA is providing 65% of the cost of replacement of the home, and the state has to provide 35%. One of the things that we need to do is identify a funding source for that 35% and a place to build it. And so we had done all the things that the VA needed us to do, except we needed to have authorization from the legislature to go forward. So we had a bill that we ran through the House, through the Senate very quickly. In fact, so quickly, it opened a lot of people's eyes to like, holy smokes, what's going on here? This is a $107 million facility. And so we slowed it down, and people had a lot of questions about what the need was, where were we going to put it, and we had planned on putting it up by the Chinden campus on a hayfield up there. And so we stopped it just to make sure that before we went forward, we had full support and answered everybody's questions about what's going on and what the need is. I think it was kind of fortunate that it happened because we are currently starting to break ground to turn the dirt for a new home up in Post Falls that was approved 2 years ago. And that construction is starting now. And between that construction And this COVID issue, I don't know if we would have had the bandwidth to also gone through the process of getting the Boise home move forward. So that was probably a blessing in disguise that we've delayed that by a year. But we will go back after that again this next legislative session, hopefully having everybody's questions answered. But this facility replacement is as priority of a need as the need was in Post Falls for a home up in Post Falls. And so it's, like I say, it's really old. We have 2 to 4 people in a room. Now the homes don't do that anymore. And we're making more of a home, a place where all of us would want to live and not an institution. And so we're moving away from that and trying to make it just a really nice place that veterans can live out the rest of their lives.
Great. Okay, moving on to the State Veterans Cemetery. We had some changes happen with COVID out there. If you want to address that.
You know, you don't realize all the things that actually this virus could touch until you're in the middle of this firefight. It's pretty crazy. You have a lot of people 4 times a day going to the Veterans Cemetery here in Boise to say their final goodbyes to their veteran or the veteran's spouse when we intern them up in the cemetery. Well, you can't do that right now because of social distancing, but we still needed to continue to intern our veterans. And so we've got a crew at the cemetery, great people that work there. And they're every day, 3 to 4 times a day, receiving the remains of veterans and putting them in place. And this Friday, hopefully, we'll be able to start to have small groups of 10 or less people come to the final ceremonies. And we've actually, to this point, we've not been allowing any ceremonial processes to happen. But starting this Friday, if the governor allows it in phase 2, we'll be able to start having small ceremonies and doing that. A lot of folks have been holding remains if they're cremated until we get through the virus and we can get back into a standard process of holding ceremonies. Just a quick note, we also were authorized to build a new cemetery in Blackfoot, Idaho. And that cemetery is under construction right now. That's a $7.4 million project. And if you've not been to the Boise Cemetery to see how beautiful that place is, you'll understand why it costs so much to build one of those cemeteries. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I was very surprised that there are concrete vaults that are pre-placed underground before the cemetery is authorized to open. And so there's, well over 100 to 200 vaults that are being pre-placed in Blackfoot right now. And there's a lot of construction going on there. So that's going to be a really beautiful cemetery.
That's great. Okay. Memorial Day at our Veterans Cemetery is usually a very big event. What is happening with that?
You know, it was like Vietnam Veteran Day. Mitzi and I struggled with Vietnam Veteran Day and having that ceremony at the Capitol steps. And we waited until, the last minute before we decided we just needed to cancel that because of the large group of people that came. And we've basically done the same thing with Memorial Day. And that's a tough one because in the Treasure Valley, Memorial Day is a big day, especially at our cemetery. And we couldn't risk having 1,000 to 1,500 people show up at the top of the hill up there. So we have canceled the event, the ceremony up there. I was with Idaho Public TV and Idaho National Guard last night until about 9:30 up at the cemetery. We're doing some, taking some video, and we're putting some short shows together. And that will be aired on Memorial Day and hopefully before Memorial Day, just to let everybody know that there will be no event up there. But the cemetery will be open as always from dawn to dusk for people to come visit their loved ones and pay their respects. We still want to make sure that we keep our physical distance between everybody, but we're going to make sure that that all happens. The flags are going to be up. The flags at each marker will be placed. It's going to be placed in a beautiful day. We just don't want a big crowd of people there causing illness and problems for us.
Right. Well, I want to give a shout out to the Mission Continues. To their group's going to be going out on the 21st next week and erecting the flags along the entrance there. So I'll send out that announcement later today if you want to go out and help the Mission Continues erect those flags. And thanks, Trill, for your leadership with the Mission Continues. So,
yes, thank you very much.
Also, a little bit in the future, 9/11, we're going to be doing something special at the cemetery.
I'm really excited about this. And it's hard to get excited about cemetery things, but this is really pretty cool. We had a local company step up, and they have created or are in the process of creating quite a memorial that will be unveiled, and it will be up on a hill, and it will be unveiled. The plan right now is to do that on September 11th. I've always wanted to do something for the Iraqi, Afghanistan war folks, and I think that that's a perfect day to do it. And I think that it's appropriate and a great place. And so just put it on your calendars that we're going to try and do something September 11th at the cemetery, and it's going to be pretty cool.
Okay, that's great. Moving on to our Education Bureau, I believe that Doug Jacobson is with us. Doug, are you out there?
I'm here from the Education Bureau.
Okay. Lots going on over there. We've got a little bit, as far as Marv and I are concerned, a little bit of sad news on the Education Bureau front. Marv, do you want to?
Doug is sadly going to be leaving us the end of this month. You know, for me, this is a double-edged sword. Doug does such a great job, and it has done such a great job in our Education Bureau. Doug's team approves all of the GI Bill courses for all of our veterans coming home. They also create OJT and apprenticeship programs that the GI Bill helps pay for. And we've got more around our state than I think almost any other state does of those OJT and apprenticeship programs. Doug has done a tremendous job in pulling all of that together. And as a boss, you always want to see your people succeed, and you want to see them moving up. And so I'm really glad that Doug has found a new job that he and his family are going to be really happy in doing. But that means we're going to lose him. And that's the bad side of this double-edged sword, because I hate to lose Doug. But Doug, if you would just maybe describe where you're headed and what you're doing, and
Sure.
anything else that might be going on in the Bureau that you want to talk about.
Sure. Thanks, Marv. And Marv, special thanks over the last couple of years for your support. All the Joining Forces member for, I would say, over the last 6.5 years. Special thanks to Mitzi for hosting this monthly event for about 11 years. I'm actually retiring from government service, so I've spent 36 years between United States Army, Department of Defense contracting, and then state/VA contractor. So my last day is May 29th. I started a company. It's called LTW Logistics LLC. It stands for Lead, Train, Win, which is our Army motto at the National Training Center at Fort Irwin, California. And I will be owning and operating a fleet of 20 Amazon Prime vans in West Valley City, Utah. So I will be hiring about 45 drivers, and we kick that off on the 1st of July. So I'm moving down there. I'm going to start the hiring process, training with the Amazon business coach. And my intent, I'm already working with the Utah state approving agent, David Salgado, and the intent is to create a courier OJT for veterans. And so when they're separating from Hill Air Force Base or anywhere in that area, then I'd like to offer them an OJT, much like we've done in Idaho. We're up to, gosh, almost 380 facilities in Idaho. OJT, apprenticeship, non-college degree programs, and certainly institutions of higher learning. And, you know, we bring in about $54 million a year. So it's been a great opportunity. I've really enjoyed it. And, you know, whoever takes my place will continue that for our veterans and family members in the state of Idaho. So I'm looking forward to the new venture as well. I'm bringing one of my daughters down to work for me for a while, and possibly a boyfriend if he stays in the family. So yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you guys for all your support, and keep up the good fight.
Well, we're definitely going to miss you, Doug. You're a great guy to work with, and you've been a huge supporter of joining forces and getting the word out. Anything particular or exciting going on in the Education Bureau right now that you're winding up before you leave?
Yeah, we're working on a couple of new programs. Mercy Health, it's a midwifery program that's online, headquartered here in Boise off of Overland Road. So that's one of our new one. Enterprise Trucking out in Nampa, a year-long OJT program. And then right here in the State Veterans Home, we've got a maintenance craftsman 1-year OJT program that we've already submitted all 3 of those to the VA for their final review. And we've got, one of our maintenance craftsmen, fortunately he's been here over a year, but the VA will retroactively pay him for his training. So I still have a lot of people at Boise PD, probably 8, that we've been working with them in the last two or three academy classes. Boise Fire, we have a new veteran that we're working on his packet. So just a lot of stuff going on. And, you know, in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, we're still able to work with folks. I'm doing a U of I compliance survey. So we'll have an outbrief tomorrow on their results. So they're doing a great job. Finished up Lewis Clark State College survey. So yeah, a lot of things going on.
Great. Now, with veterans who are accessing their GI Bill and maybe they're getting a stipend for housing, things like that, what happened when schools shut down and the veterans were no longer able to go to school? Were there any changes or problems with that?
Well, for institutions of higher learning, they continued, they transitioned to an online program. So they continued and are still continuing, I think most of them through the end of this week. I know with U of I, LC, a lot of they're doing finals this week. So they continue to get their, depending on their zip code, they continue to get their monthly housing allowance. Any non-college degree programs that could transition to online training, they did so as well. If they couldn't, the VA was still going to continue that monthly housing allowance through the end of February, and then they extended that another couple of months. And then some of our companies are back in training. So a lot of our truck driving schools that were shut down for about a month, and then they continued. So really, we'll see what happens this fall. But a lot of a lot of learning in that transition piece for our institutions of higher learning from in the classroom. And I know because I have 2 in college, so there is a, we compete for bandwidth at my house for internet. But yeah, it is a little more difficult when you're conducting labs via Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Or my daughter who's a senior in nursing school, it's a little difficult to, when your externships get canceled and you have to do other projects that aren't hands-on nursing related. It's just really difficult. So I think the universities are learning a lot.
Well, this is probably a good time for veterans to look at their GI Bill benefits with our changing economy and things. It might be a good time for them to go back to school or look at, transferring their benefits to a family member. You want to speak to that at all, or?
No, I don't really have anything.
It's a good idea.
No, I mean, because you have to transfer your benefit while you're still on active duty. So if they didn't do that prior to their separation from the military, they're not able to transfer that benefit. And those that have been transferred, yeah, we have lots of family members going to school every day. So
Great. Marv, what are we going to do about Doug's position?
Well, we've actually got it posted right now and are collecting applications. And so we're looking for someone that wants to join our education team and continue on doing what Doug's team does. I mean, they're all over the state, so they get a chance to get out and travel a little bit around the state, mostly day trips, and it's a great job for someone who's looking for a way to contribute and give back to veterans.
Great. And I'll send out the link to that job posting later today. Our Office of Veterans Advocacy, we had to close that for walk-in traffic. They're housed here in Boise in the VA regional office. Do you want to tell us what's going on with them?
Yeah, we've got service officers that are trained twice a year that are all over the state. And we have about 8 of them here, 9 of them here in the Treasure Valley. We had one that was in the home itself to help take care of the veterans in the home. And then we had quite a number that were working out of the regional office at the VA. And when the VA closed its doors, all those folks started working from home. We also had one veteran service officer, Wes, was working out of the Caldwell Department of Labor office, and then Lance is working out or was working out of the Caldwell Veterans Hall over there 3 days a week. Everyone right now, all of those folks are all working from home and still taking calls, still logging in through their laptops, and still doing claims for veterans. One of the things that they've been very successful at, the VA recently, January 1st, started processing what's called Blue Water Navy claims. Now there's both Navy and Army that qualify for this because, believe it or not, the Army had some ships during Vietnam. Well, there were boats, but they were within the 12-mile limit of Vietnam during the war. And if those folks suffered any maladies that are associated with Agent Orange, because they were on a ship offshore, they did not qualify for any Agent Orange disability until January 1st. There have been a lot of claims processed. Our folks have been very, very successful at processing those claims, and they will go back retroactively to when a claim was first applied. We had a spouse, actually a widow. A gentleman had submitted a claim back a long time ago for Agent Orange related malady, and he's since passed away. But our folks, Bill Hayab, and you probably all know Bill, resurrected that claim because it became then a blue water claim. And not only was he able to get the retroactive payments for the veteran himself that will now go to the widow. He got the widow, the DIC, and the retroactive payment of over $500,000. That's all tax-free. And it's very common for blue water claims to be to have retroactive payments of $75,000 to $100,000 and up. And the OVA folks work very hard to try and help veterans get their disability claims approved. They will go through the VA court process with them if there's some disagreements. And those folks bring in roughly between 560 and $600 million every year in disability claims for Idahoans. And so make sure if you run across a veteran, if you are a veteran and you haven't seen or called a veteran service officer, that you recommend that they do that and have them get a hold of one of Bill's folks. They're doing some great magic out there and really taking good care of our veterans and bringing them a little extra cash for their service, because those were things that they earned. I remember I talked to a guy last week. He was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne, spent, I want to say 12 years in the Army, parachuted into Grenada during that incursion. Paratroopers typically end up with bad knees, bad backs, bad joints. You don't jump out of a plane with 100 pounds of lightweight equipment and land on the ground and not have, accidents with those kinds of things. He felt he was in good enough shape. He didn't want to burden the government. But I reminded him that when we started, I remember my first year in the Navy, which was a little while ago, my annual salary was less than $5,000. And so you don't work for less than $5,000 because you're there for the money, obviously. There were a lot of benefits that came along with that service. And when I retired, my salary, my taxable salary was $36,000 a year. Now I retired 27 years ago, but still, you don't do that for the salary. There's benefits that go along with that. So no one should feel guilty in taking advantage and asking for those benefits that we all work for. So make sure that you remind veterans of that. There's no one getting rich in the military. You don't do it for the money. And those benefits are part of the payback for your service. So remind veterans to contact a service officer and have them use their benefits.
Well, and the thing that I tell veterans, young and old, is even if you aren't having any problems, see a service officer, because it's taken years and years and years for the VA to recognize the Agent Orange problems. But if you had filed a claim 20 years ago because you had certain problems, even if it wasn't recognized at the time, that claim is on file, and that's where these retroactive payments come. And maybe you don't think you have any problems, but until you've seen a service officer and they go through their checklist and ask you some questions, even something like hearing loss, that can be a claim, and sometimes you'll submit and you'll get back that you have a 0 disability rating. Well, even 0 is considered a rating to get you in the system. So see your service officers, give us a call. The number here in Boise is 208-780-1380. We have some emergency grants available through the Idaho Division of Veteran Services, and they're not utilized very often. There are quite a few hoops to jump through, but with our current situation, there are more people that may qualify for those. Can you outline those, Marv?
Those emergency grants are available up to $1,500, and you need to go through a service officer in order to get one. Again, why it's important to contact a service officer or to know who to contact. 780-1380 is their number. If you're a veteran and within the past 90 days have had some kind of an emergent situation that has caused you to, say, maybe not be able to pay your rent, meet your bills, those kinds of things, we have grants available for that. And we have given away more of those grants in the last couple months than we have in the last couple of years. And so it's important that veterans know that they're not out there by themselves. There is a resource for them, and these are grants. These are not loans. We'll make sure that no one ends up homeless, and so that doesn't want to be homeless. So please just let veterans know there's grants available. If anybody reaches out to you, we can help them.
Well, and the other thing that happens now that I'm at the Division of Veteran Services and the relationships that I've built with our service officers, once you see a service officer, they'll see if you qualify for an emergency grant, qualify for other things. If you don't, I get an email. Lance, Frank, Bill, they'll say, hey, I've got a veteran, doesn't fit this category, doesn't fit this category. And that's when I send out those joining forces emails. And to everybody else out there, when you have a situation, give me a call or send me an email, and we'll bring our group together to see if a little resource here, a little resource there can fulfill the needs of our veterans. So something else that's going on, Marv, is the new Space Force has been created in the United States. And what kind of issues is that creating for veterans organizations?
One of the things that I had not really thought about when President Trump created the Space Force was the problems it was going to create for the states who have cemeteries and homes and other programs, and for regular veterans service organizations. Right now, we have all been used to having 5 different services. And so the Pentagon is a perfect example, has 5 different sides, and that was to represent the 5 different services. Well, now we have 6. They're not going to add a different wall on the Pentagon, but they're going to have to figure out a way to recognize the Space Force as we all are. And so we are looking right now to try and figure out an example here in Idaho is if any of you have been to the top of the hill in the cemetery where we have the great big flag and the big area where we do our ceremonies, there's 5 different stones that have been placed in that venue with bronze seals of the 5 different services. And then there's rays of concrete that kind of go out from those stones. We're trying to figure out how we're going to fit the Space Force into that. And so all of us need to be thinking, because it is going to, there will be a time when the president is going, or the Secretary of Defense is going to come out and say, hey, all you veterans, all you states, everyone needs to recognize the Space Force. So get that logo up there. So we all need to be thinking about the Space Force and how we're going to incorporate that logo, Star Trekky as it may be, into the other 5 logos, and have them represented equally as the other services are. So just food for thought. There is no requirement yet, but I suspect that time will be coming.
Sounds good. March 29th, we had planned a large Vietnam Veterans Recognition Day ceremony at the Capitol. And as you mentioned earlier, we were planning that up until the last minute. We canceled it just a week before. And we had some Vietnam veteran books that have been published. Can you tell us a little bit about the history on that and what we're going to do moving forward to get those out to our Vietnam veterans?
Anyone who attended the Vietnam Veterans Day event last year will remember the governor making a commitment and getting Daryl Anderson he was the CEO of Idaho Power, putting him in charge of a task force to try and raise the funds. And we needed I want to say $250,000 to publish or to print enough books for Idaho and Vietnam veterans. Well, Daryl was successful. We didn't get $250,000, but we got enough money where we were able to print about 16,500 books. Those books we were going to give out, and that was going to be the day that we were going to announce that we had the books and we were going to start to give them out to the Vietnam veterans, March 29th of this year. And that didn't work. So now I have 18 pallets of books stored out at one of our warehouses at the cemetery. And so I'm working with the sponsors, the folks that bought those books, to see how we want to get those to our veterans. And so hopefully in the next week, we will have word going out and how we're going to put a plan together to do that. I think it would be very appropriate for people who, like Boise PD, you see Vietnam veterans every day. I think it'd be a great thing for Boise PD to have, just throw a couple of those books in the trunk. And when you run across a Vietnam veteran, shake their hand and make sure they get that book to recognize their service. We were able to put a lot of pictures of Vietnam veterans, Idaho Vietnam veterans, in the book. There's special notes from the sponsors and from the governor, and a story about Idaho Vietnam veterans. So it's a pretty good book. Excuse me.
Yeah, we look forward to that coming out. Okay, Marv, do you have anything else that you would like to mention or cover?
You know, the only other thing that we're working on right now is we're sending out a survey about our website, and we're also surveying about the impact COVID is having on veterans that maybe we're not aware of. I want to make sure that we're focused on the needs of Idaho veterans. And if COVID is having an impact on them or their families that we're not aware of and already addressing, I want to know what that is. So Mitzi will be sending out, I'm sure, a link to these surveys. Spread those far and wide. We need veterans to just answer these surveys and let us know how we can serve them better. Right now, I'm guessing. You know, I'm a veteran. I know what I would need. I talk to veterans every day, and I'm trying to get all of that information. But the more veterans we get feedback from, the better we're able to focus our resources to make sure that we're taking care of their needs. So please get that survey out and help us understand what those needs are so we can target those things directly. Thanks,
Great.
Mitzi, for doing this. And thanks everybody in joining forces. This is a great program, one we really want and have tried to replicate around the state. And thank you for being part of it. It warms my heart every time I see Mitzi send out an email that says, hey, Billy Bob Grab Sandwich needs a ride to Payette or whatever. And then 5 minutes later, she sends another email back saying, hey, Billy Bob's got his ride. It's like, thank you all. You're taking great care of our veterans, and it really warms my heart to see that.
Okay, well, great. Thanks for joining us this morning, Marv.
Thanks.
Mindy Anderson, are you out there with us?
I am. Good morning.
Okay. Mindy Anderson is with the Idaho chapter of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And Mindy, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what led you up to the Veterans Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mindy Anderson, 20 years military. I did 10 years active duty Air Force, had an assignment to Mountain Home, loved Idaho so much that after they kept on sending us to the south, we decided we need to go back to the mountains. So we came back here to Idaho, and my husband and I both serve in the Idaho Air National Guard. He's active duty guard, and then I serve as a traditionalist. So for the last 10 years, I've been in the civilian community, on and off between working at Gowan and then also in the civilian community. And oftentimes I get asked, how can civilian communities, civilian businesses support veteran efforts and support Gowan Field? And as you know, we deployed out this week. This is our second time now on rotation, which is something different. And that's going to continue to happen. And through that, I've seen a greater presence for and a greater need for civilian communities to want to support the veteran community. And how do they get in connection with them? How do they collaborate? How do they find military veterans that have discipline for workforce development type opportunities and would be great fits? How do they support the 28-day airmen and soldiers that are in the civilian community 28 days out of the month, but they work with us on 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. And so, it just kind of got to that point where I thought, I started a business last year of my own, and I found that there was a lot of amazing resources for veteran service organizations providing different things. But after chatting with Mitzi, because she's just such a powerhouse within the veteran community with the reach that she has, and chatting with her and talking things over, I looked out to the national level, and there's an organization called the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And so their whole mission and their goal is to provide more of a collaboration between civilian chambers and the civilian community to collaborate more for them to support veteran service organizations. So I thought, that's something that we don't have in the state of Idaho. I think it would benefit tremendously. So I went down the route of looking at bringing an Idaho chapter to Idaho. And so I'm happy to report that in March, I was appointed as the executive director for the Idaho chapter. And since then, I've been working with and meeting with a lot of different CEOs from the different chambers across the Treasure Valley. And now I'm starting to reach out to other counties too as well that are surrounding, because our goal is to eventually be able to reach the entire state of Idaho with all of the chambers. So we are a registered nonprofit here. We do provide 4 arms of support. So, I've been reaching out to different veteran service organizations that are focused around education, focused around workforce development programs, and how to do transition career counseling and such, which I see Micah's on here from Higher Heroes, and I've reached out to her. And then also there's a huge component for entrepreneur, which, man, there's like such a need right now for supporting entrepreneurs, especially somebody of my nature where I'm, considered a sole proprietor just because I'm a one-person show with my business. However, I don't qualify for a lot of the handouts that are being provided right now just because of that nature of my company. And so, now's the time where, we could be connecting our veteran service members with chambers, because there's a lot of great work happening at the chamber level. I don't know if anybody's seen what the Meridian Chamber of Commerce is doing and how they're supporting their community, but they're doing amazing things. They're providing free opportunities, flyers, handouts. They're doing a lot of different things. So, hang on one second. Yes, sweetie. Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll take your temperature in a minute, okay? Thank you. Gotta love being at home with a 4-year-old. She's good for the last hour and 40 minutes, and then I go on, and she needs to tell me about baby not feeling well. So, so right now, this is just kind of showing how important it would be to have that strong connection with our chambers across the state. Also, there's another arm for education, and there's also another arm for health and wellness too, as well, which is a lot of what Joining Forces does now. So there's a lot of opportunity. So where are we at with the Veterans Chamber of Commerce for Idaho? Well, so we were gaining a lot of traction and we were moving forward, and then of course, like, I think like a lot of other people, COVID happened, and so we took a pause and we haven't really fully launched out what this program is going to look like and how to get involved. And we are still in the beginning stages of forming this core team for the Veteran Chamber of Commerce for Idaho. So there's so much opportunity for people to join on in the early phases and really be one of the founding members to create these pillars, and really support the veteran space, and then also create that collaboration connection space to the chambers. And with that, I will open it up for any questions if anybody has any. I know I was going to send the follow-up information. We're having just a general overview webinar in 2 weeks for people to come together and just learn more about what the Veterans Chamber of Commerce is, and then also see where there might be some opportunities. But I'd love to chat before then if you want to discuss what type of opportunities are available with that. So I will get that information to Mitzi and she can get that out. As I mentioned, we're just really starting to form right now. And one of our goals and one of our missions and what we want to help support is, and I've chatted with Mitzi a little bit about this, is when people are in need of things, how do we support and can we provide funding? And I know a lot of organizations step up and that's so awesome, but wouldn't it be great to just have another resource that can provide and support and promote what great things that Marv and Mitzi are doing for our veteran organizations and our veterans out in the community.
Well, and I would like to commend you on your foresight. You've been talking to me about this at the beginning of the year, and I think now more than ever, this is going to be a very vital organization to our business community and our veterans who have businesses. So the timing couldn't be better for this. So Mindy will get that information out to me, and I will send it out to everybody. And I think I read in some of the literature that you had sent me, membership is going to be free.
Yep. Yeah, membership is going to be free. And what we're doing right now is working with different chambers to get a reciprocated membership going. And so we provide them a membership into our community, and then they provide us a membership into their community. And so with that, I see a lot of opportunity where, I won't be able to be at every single chamber meeting and be engaged in every single chamber meeting. And it would be really great to have people that are, living in Caldwell that want to be a part of their chamber. And this is an opportunity where we can create those people that would be that contact for that chamber. So there's a lot of opportunity where things will be free and will pave the way for creating, just more synergy and collaboration.
Well, and I think that's a huge bonus because some Chamber of Commerce, their membership fees for people to join are quite high. So this would be a good for a veteran-run business to join the Idaho chapter of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce and have that outlet to others. So, well, thank you, Mindy, for joining us today. And I look forward to talking to you again soon, and we'll get your information out there. Bob Wheeler, are you with us out there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
But, no video today.
Oh. Okay. Bob is one of our regular attendees of Joining Forces, and he is going to talk to us today about the Idaho Farmer Veterans Coalition that has been formed. And Bob, if you want to give us, introduce yourself a little bit, give us some background information, and then tell us about the Idaho Farmer Veterans Coalition.
I can do it. Thank you, Mitzi. Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Wheeler. I'm a Navy veteran. I currently work for J.R. Simplot, and I'm active with our Veterans of Foreign War Post 4000. Christy Tedder is trying to start up this Idaho chapter of the Farmers Veteran Coalition, and I'm just really trying to help her out and get more knowledge of it. She actually created the Michigan chapter years ago, and luckily for us, she has decided to get the chapter up and running in the state of Idaho. There are 13 chapters out there right now. The Farmers Veteran Coalition is a national organization whose mission is to cultivate a new generation of farmers and food leaders and develop a viable employment and meaningful careers through the collaboration of the farming and military communities. And yes, I'm reading that. Christy has this down packed. I'm still learning all this stuff, so I apologize for that. So there's a lot of supporters. The USDA, the Farm Credit, Newman's Own Foundation has given a lot of money to this organization to help support veterans in farming. Simplot, since I work for Simplot, we were lucky enough to talk to them and get in front of them when we were trying to start this up. And they gave us a nice little grant. And I believe there are several others that have also given us some money to help this get up and running. We are looking for board members to represent all the geographies of the state. We know that, Boise may be the hub, but we know it doesn't represent the entire state as far as agriculture. We have the north and the east side of the state. So if you have some interest, let us know. We were moving along pretty good at the end of last year until COVID hit. And so things have kind of really slowed down. But our biggest thing that we need to do right now is to have a stakeholders conference and get folks involved with that. So we're trying to work with the state and federal agencies. There's a lot of interest. And right now we're looking at November to have a stakeholders meeting. So I'll give you some information a little bit later if you're interested. Again, our chapter is only going to be as strong as our members and our advocates. So we need as many people on the stakeholders as possible. There is a Facebook for the Idaho Veterans Coalition out there. And for the national website, you can look at just Google Farmers Veterans Coalition or farmvetco.org. So again, if you, Christy already has some opportunities through construction companies this winter for welding and electrical classes for those who are interested in learning those on-farm skills. So you can contact Christy or myself. So Christy's phone number, I don't know if you want me to just give that Mitzi or you want me to just give it to you later. Okay.
Send it out to me and
okay.
I will.
Yep. So I'll send out contact information to Mitzi. So again, you can contact myself or Christy and look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. And, I grew up in a farming family. And when I think of farming, I think of, hundreds of acres and a lot of people. But today's farming can be a little different. And it kind of ties in with what Mindy was talking about, entrepreneurs and things. So we're not just talking big family farms. We're talking little operations and homegrown stuff too. Is that right, Bob?
That is correct. Yeah. I mean, actually working for Simplot, my mindset is on, the big farms and things of that nature. And then talking with Christy as she started talking about things. Yes, we're talking about farmers markets and niche markets. She talks about some place over in Detroit that does salsa and they needed cilantro. They couldn't get it. They needed like 2 tons a day. And they just couldn't find that market. So she got some grants and stuff to help some veterans set up some greenhouses so that they could fill that niche there. And again, it's the little ones that are going to make a difference. And I think, this crisis actually has shown us that it is the smaller farms that are really going to help us out.
Yeah. Well, and, every cloud has a silver lining, I think, with this COVID situation. A lot of people are realizing for the first time where their groceries come from. We have our truckers to thank for that, getting that food to market. And, I've seen some memes, don't know where to hunt Doritos or,
Right.
how to grow those, but it's opened a lot of people's eyes and things. So again, this is very good timing for us to have a Idaho Farmer Veteran Coalition chapter start up along with the Chamber of Commerce. So veterans leading the way on. So, okay. We are winding down here. I want to remind everybody, I sent out the email that the Idaho National Guard and Mountain Home Air Force Base will be having a flyover tomorrow, approximately 10 a.m. And we want to thank all of our Idaho National Guard and Mountain Home Air Force people for putting that together. And we'll all be standing outside of our homes and businesses looking towards the skies tomorrow morning. I'll just mention I've got one request. I got a call from a veteran last night, and they live in low-income housing here in Boise. Their apartment was flooded, and it was their own fault, so they're having to put some of the expenses, but the apartment owner is going to recarpet and things, but they need some help today. Their furniture moved out. They do have a friend who has a garage in Meridian that they can put everything in. But if anybody out there can help with some moving today, dressers, bookcases, bed frame, that sort of thing, get a hold of me later. We'd like to help them out if we can. And if you have any other requests out there, get them to me. Some things have been a little bit harder to fulfill than in the past. I used to say I had a 99.9% success rate, but you know, a lot of people are suffering out there right now. A lot of jobs lost, rent coming due, and a lot of us have limited resources. But I know I've talked to so many of you over the last month, and we're all working very hard. Also on the mental health front to keep everybody's attitudes positive and to move forward. So thank you for everything that everyone is doing out there. If you need anything, please contact me. And don't forget that together we are making a difference. So we will see everybody next month, maybe in person and maybe online, but we will definitely have a meeting next month. Thank you.
Thanks, Missy. Have a great day.